You are listening to the ReRACEables Podcast.
Give you a nice little detour.
Welcome to the ReRACEables Podcast. I'm your host, Tom. I'm joined tonight by Josh and Nicole. We are here to talk about Season 36, Episode 4 of The Amazing Race. Welcome in, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going?
We have to start at the top of this podcast. A very somber Nicole.
Yeah.
And a slightly somber, not as somber Tom. Nicole, tell them why you're so somber.
I lost my number one. They did me dirty. Michelle and Sean. I have to say, I'm really disappointed in them. I was expecting
Same.
so much better. So initially, I thought I saw passion, drive, determination. I thought they would be more athletic than they were.
I agree. I saw the same things.
I thought they would be more coordinated than they were, have more rhythm than they did. And they didn't deliver.
The question I have in my head is, why did they lose? We can point to some of the things that we typically do about the gradual decline. They've been in the back of the pack. Like, we get that they clearly didn't have the skill set to win the Amazing Race.
Mm-hmm.
We all can agree on that.
Yeah.
What is the skills that they were lacking?
I think the biggest thing, and it's not just this team, there's multiple teams that we're witnessing this season where they are in a stressful situation and they just immediately go into panic mode. And when you are in that state of mind, you're not able to think logically. You're not able to find your surroundings and make sense of a map, use any kind of strategy of like a mnemonic device. No, it's just panic. And so she wasn't able to perform.
And I think coupled with that is two things. Number one, they never had any real success in any of the legs. Even when they got to the breakdance challenge, like, they needed that. They needed to be in their comfort zone. And I think they found that, but it wasn't enough.
Now, they should have hit that first attempt.
Yeah.
And it took 3.
Yeah.
Come on. That should have been like a home run for you.
But I think that was part of our misread also. They don't run a dance company. They run Double Dutch, which is like coaching people.
They're doing choreography.
Yes, but it's not like 5, 6, 7, 8 putting moves together. You saw at the end, they're coaching you in real time how to do this one activity. Josh, why did they lose?
I mean, I still stand by this. When I saw them, I thought they were a no chancers because they're not here to win. From last week, and we saw Sean not wanting to go up a mountain, to even starting off the episode, he was saying he's afraid to go in those hang gliders, which were actually so awesome. I thought that was a great way to start the episode. But it's just they weren't here to win. They were here to kind of prove to their kids that they could do it. And I think that really just didn't feel like they were real competitors.
Versus, we're super competitive. We've studied the race and we're here to win.
And we're seeing that, right? The teams that are at the top of the pack are all playing with strategy and with drive, and maybe a little too much passion where you start to cry. But I think that is indicative of who's in the lead.
Can I go back to something that Josh just mentioned? I'm very surprised to hear that you liked that opening. Do you know why? Why am I surprised?
Why are you surprised?
Because they all started in a group.
Yes.
There was no order to it. I mean, it was 3 groups, so they said, but it seemed to just be a mishmash.
They were not in the groups departing.
No. And there was no purpose for them to do that other than something to show on TV that was a scenic thing to us watch them do.
Felt like it was we have 90 minutes, but we didn't edit this for 90 minutes originally. So let's throw in 90 seconds of paragliding.
But why even have them do it?
I think that's their attempt to show the beauty of Medellín.
And I liked it. I liked being able to fly over the land and get a little bit of more insight into the characters. I think that was something I complained about last week, is that I didn't really know these people. And I think a little bit of one-on-one with the camera and just hearing their thoughts and seeing them over the skies made me feel a bit more connected to them. And seeing the beauty of the place. It's the establishing shot. Great. Now I know where we are, even though we're going to stay in the same little village the whole episode.
So we say goodbye to Nicole's number 1 team, Michelle and Sean. My number 3 team. We'll talk more about the power rankings later, but Josh, we have to talk about another team that nearly was the ones we said farewell to, and that's Sunny and Bizzy, who did the Rebus puzzle that was scattered across the different artwork and had absolutely no strategy, no clue what the hell they were doing. They looked like they were in a burning building with smoke all around them, and they had very little ways of even getting out of it. And 31 tries later and 31 failures, they aborted the mission, went to the breakdance, and passed in the first attempt.
First attempt. Absolutely
unbelievable. What is going on here with these two?
I lost it when they thought E was Om.
Oh my God.
That was so good. And they're just trying to make Om work.
Yeah, okay. Double H hockey sticks, Om.
Gosh.
Yeah, the Double H hockey sticks to the globe and went home. What?
It was, they were reading it all out of order.
Backwards.
It's so bad.
Like, ladies, we read from left to right, not right to left.
Yeah, it was painful. It was painful. And this isn't the first time we've seen them just scatterbrained in a challenge. I mean, they did do the flag, right? Wasn't it the penance challenge a few weeks ago? And they did end up completing it, but they stayed for just way too long and also just couldn't get it. And so one thing that I noted from them is there's no chance they're coming in first place. No. And there's no chance, because even if they make it to the final 3, they are just not quick in challenges, and they will not. I will say there's a 0% chance of them winning, because there's no way that they will get through and win that final episode.
No,
I completely
even if they get there.
I completely agree. And exactly what you're saying, Josh, is exactly what makes them probably great firefighters, is that they take their time and they stick it out and they'll stay in there and they'll get the job done, instead of being like, hey, other teams, can you help us? Or, you know what, this is really hard. Or how should we go into this burning building, aka this challenge? They got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
From Sunny and Bizzy, I did want to bring up one interesting point that they mentioned, is that because they are firefighters, they don't see each other every day. They don't like spend every second with each other like a partner would, or maybe like siblings did growing up. And so they actually don't know each other as well as maybe other teams. And I wonder, for you guys, do you think that's a positive or a negative?
Huge negative.
Really?
Huge negative. Because I thought they knew each other. I thought they'd been working with each other for years and like had this great friendship that came over the course of a lot of time. And
do they not?
Based on what they said, right, Josh?
Yeah, they said that they're not with each other all the time, and so they are still learning each other's strengths and weaknesses, and understanding what it's like to be with them 24/7.
And that's why it's a huge negative, right? Like all these other teams that are competing at the highest level, the Ricky and Cesars, the Amber and Vinnies, they're in the trench with each other that much more. Their relationship is that much closer. And they're not learning each other. They know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and they're moving along. They're not just figuring it out on a whim.
To counter that, though, I do see that like the the Amber and Vinny's, like, because they know each other so well, they also know what grinds each other's, not necessarily what grinds each other's gears, but they like are triggered by things very early. So maybe someone who doesn't know each other, when Vinny yells at you to like hurry up and move faster, you might be like, okay, I like this is this guy, whatever. I could. But when you constantly get yelled at or constantly are worried or about your insecurities, that one thing can be so triggering that it actually becomes a hindrance in your game.
But at least it's consistent. And like if Vinny is going to be consistently running ahead and consistently pushing Amber, and she's going to be consistently talking to him in such a way where she's communicating her feelings and running through her process, which involves crying, at least it's consistent. And that's kind of how they are. It's no mystery.
They know what to expect out of each other.
Right. I would argue that that's an advantage versus, oh, I'm Sunny and Bizzy. I'm now pissed off at you. This is relatively new to you. Versus that's how Sunny always is, or that's how Bizzy always gets.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the ones that are more consistent.
That's a great point.
Speaking of consistency, Ricky and Cesar, team number 1 for the second straight leg. They each win $2,500.
Shout out Ricky and Cesar.
Through 4 legs, second, first. Flexible, adaptable, clear favorites.
We'll be surprised if they don't win at this point after seeing their performance. I would, however, like to see how they perform in a country that doesn't speak Spanish, because that really has been an advantage for them, especially with like navigating places. Like they have shot ahead of people because of that.
I agree, but Yvonne also speaks Spanish, and they are still middle of the pack. But I agree with you. I do think that they are using their Spanish in a smart way, in a way that the strategy is what I am loving. Sitting in the back of the taxi and asking the taxi driver to use their phone and then researching where you need to go. It's so smart, and it's one of the reasons why they're definitely, I agree, a clear favorite.
Yeah, no downtime. Every moment is an opportunity to advance in the game.
Yep.
And it's from the beginning, the middle to the end of each leg. And it's been that way for now 4 straight legs. They clearly have an advantage by speaking Spanish and being in Mexico for 2 legs, and now Colombia for 2 legs. And next week's going to be in Santiago, Chile. Let the advantage of speaking Spanish continue.
Yeah, I mean, even in the roadblock, if you knew the Spanish words that were the titles of the sculptures, that was an advantage.
Totally. And that was one of the first words that Yvonne said all season, but she let us in on that secret, and it is no secret. And I'm glad she said it because it's totally an advantage. She got it on the first try. Are Ricky and Cesar at Greg and John levels already? Greg and John being our runaway favorites from season 35, and then went on to win the whole thing.
Hot take. I don't see a weakness in Ricky and Cesar. I just don't. I don't know what is going to, I think that they vibe well. They even said when they won, the keys to winning, or the keys to running this race well, are they're flexible, they're adaptable, and they're enjoying it. And I think that that is really key. That is real reasons why other teams have won. And I think that they are just going to keep riding the top of the pack, especially in a race that is not heavy in travel, and a race that is not heavy in physical challenges, and a race that you do need to be smart and be super fans, and they are.
Yeah, they've got it all, and I would put them up in that Greg and John level.
Can we talk about alliances? You know, I've been so interested in this episode, specifically the Danny and Angie, the helping each other, like, and creating alliances. And we've seen seasons where it is ruthless and people will do things to go out of their way to hurt other teams. And we're not seeing that this year. Everybody is like a big happy family, and like I said, specifically Danny and Angie, everybody wants to help them. Oh, no, don't go over there. Oh, let me tell you exactly where the clue box is. Oh, this is the way to navigate around this area. It's just like, what? And even Rod and Juan and Sean, like, what are they doing? Like, pretending to work together and then actually working together and helping each other get to the finish line. And it's just so weird. It's so weird that it goes back to what I was saying. Are they even racing? Is this the amazing race, or is this the amazing best friend game? I don't know.
Or is it just they've gotten to a point where the don't come in last strategy is just so pungent that let's just work together. We know we're not going to come in last, so let's just help each other so we can move on.
I did notice, however, Michelle tried to like look over and get help, and they ignored her.
Rod and Shane did. Yes, they ignored her. They kind of blocked.
Wow.
Mhm.
There was that.
Which I kind of liked. I didn't think that it happened to my number one, but I like seeing some, all right, let's edge someone out. Like, okay.
Ultimately, a question I have going back to Sonny and Bizzy, or Michelle and Sean, Karishma and Kishori. What are you doing to stay in the race? What are you doing?
Panic,
Right, you're just panicking. You're getting emotional.
whining.
And I think that's where, like, credit to Danny and Angie. Well, I think that's what you and I saw in Danny. He's the super fan. He's not a threatening looking guy. And he's likable. And his mom was going to pull him down because of her limitations, being older, physical challenges. We've already seen that. But we couldn't make the connection. And here it is. Danny's ability to connect and use strategy of working with other teams.
Yeah.
And doing it out of necessity, really. They kind of have to do that. They kind of have to use their strategy to work together with other teams because that's their best chance to get ahead. And look at this. Boom. Amber and Vinny literally help guide them through orientating themselves in the roadblock.
Yeah.
And they're through the race.
Are you starting to like Danny and Angie?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like
They're an
them more
underdog, right?
Karishma and
Oh, you guys are harsh on them.
do you hear the whining and crying?
I think that they're
Well-
exciting to watch. I think that they're fun and funny and like they're kids. Like it's they're freaking out about everything. And there are people that we all know in our lives who freak out about everything. And it's like, okay, you just take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. I don't get annoyed by them.
I think Danny and Angie are totally gaining on me. And it's because Danny is not only the super fan, and this was a Danny leg.
Oh
And I
my
think
gosh.
that's how
The puzzles. All you can eat puzzles, he said.
right. It was a buffet line, and the special was puzzles, and Danny was going up for extras. And yeah, that's how they get third. It's his ability to stay calm. It's his ability to stay positive. It's his ability to stay encouraging, even though he's running the amazing race and like living his dream. And you could tell like he's so excited and wants to keep going and running ahead. His mom actually does kind of ground him. And so like his super positive encouragement with her limitation, but also like, this is the base of the escalator. I'm telling you, I'm sticking to this.
Yeah.
It's working. And plus the strategy and using their limitations to encourage them to form an alliance. It's brilliant. It's good gameplay. It's I want to win gameplay.
It is. Honey, I can't run. It's okay, Mom. Let's just keep going. Here we are. And then you get to the challenge and he's doing anagrams to remember where these statues are and getting it and killing it. It is. It's fun to watch. They're an exciting team, I think. And they're playing the game in a complete opposite way than, for instance, Cesar and Ricky are, or even the actual opposite of what Juan and Shane / Rod and Leticia are playing. Like that, they're playing a very physical game, and Danny and Angie are playing the exact opposite. And it's fun. It's fun to see the diversity in teams.
The teams that know the kind of game they have to play are doing well, right? Juan and Shane, they made mention of it. We're playing a physical game.
Mhm.
Yep.
We have to do the physical challenge. Dancing, it's physical. We can't do puzzles. It's going to be a waste of our time. It's not our strength. We'll do physical. Rod and Leticia, maybe a chink in their armor with Rod making the decision without consulting Leticia. That's not her strength. His strength, as well as, come on, baby. Come on, baby. He must have come on, baby, 20 times.
The new Hump It Terry?
Yeah. He was like, he's so expressive. Come on, baby.
So
Come on.
fun.
He's like, he's constantly in an NFL football huddle. Like,
I love it.
I do too. He is cracking me up. He's just, even when he completes the dance, he's high-fiving everybody like he's just scored a touchdown and he ran off the field. Like he's so
Well, and he hyped up the crowd before they even started.
yeah. I was actually kind of shocked that Leticia can't dance. It's because he's so into it.
Yeah.
You'd think that I just thought that she would have been into it like him, but she was not about it.
No.
I am a little worried about that lack of communication.
Yeah.
But they're running a physical race, right? To go back to that point. Sonny and Bizzy, what are you doing? You're firefighters. You're running a physical race. Stop picking the color pennant matching puzzles. Stop picking the rebus puzzles that you think an E is an ohm. Stop it. Lift stuff, drag stuff, throw stuff over your shoulder. You're firefighters. This is what you do. So I think the teams that know the kind of race are doing much better than the teams who are just out there.
Yep.
Like, ask Michelle and Sean. Did they have a clue the kind of race they were running? No, because it was a scared race. Now, granted, the heights is not their thing, and it was basically all of that.
It was a lot of heights.
That doesn't help, but let's go to the detour. We had Dance Vibes or Wall Scribe. Dance Vibes was a 30-second breakdance routine. Wall Scribe was a rebus puzzle that was scattered around other artwork. What's the better choice? What are we thinking? What would you have gone with?
I think if I had just off of reading the clue, I would have gone with breakdancing, given my dance background. However, after viewing both, I think the rebus puzzle was way easier. I mean, I thought that the clues would be spread out and they'd have to run from artwork to artwork. It was all right there.
It looked like the rebus puzzle pieces were within 200 feet from beginning to end.
It really wasn't hard to figure out.
No.
It was not. So I think that was the better choice. But obviously, as the viewer, it's easier to say that.
I would agree. I think the only reason I would have said the rebus puzzle is because Survivor 41 had the game within the game, and they had a rebus puzzle trying to train young Survivor viewers out there.
Yeah.
I guess I knew what a rebus puzzle was, but that really hook, line, and sinker into what rebus puzzles were. I don't know I think the clue said rebus puzzle as well, because Danny was beside himself. So I think I would have gone with
napkin in.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he put on his dinner napkin with his fork and knife for that challenge in his hand. I think that's what I went with. Josh, what was your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I am a firm believer in doing doing the clear thing and knowing that you have to go puzzle to puzzle and figure it out versus having to, you never know what these experts are going to be. Sometimes they are so harsh on you. And we've seen past seasons where they're doing dance challenges for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours because they can't get it right. And I am scarred by that. Also not a dancer, probably more of a puzzle person. I wrote, absolutely not. Easy. Feels easy that it was an easy choice for me. And I think it even showed. But what I want to talk about is how unbalanced it felt. My goodness. Even the team that did the dance in first, second, or third try, it felt like they were there just learning and studying for an hour. Whereas Amber and Vinny walked right up to the rebus puzzle. Bing, 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 gone, done. Goodbye. See ya. It just felt so imbalanced and really kind of unfair.
That's something that we said last episode, that all of the challenges thus far have felt unbalanced.
7 teams eventually did the breakdancing and only 3 teams completed the puzzle. But you guys are right. The puzzle was clearly
in terms of difficulty,
a total imbalance.
Yeah.
And totally the reason that Danny and Angie were able to catapult to the front of the pack.
Absolutely. We also love a graffiti spray paint expert who
Yes.
says, and the world is also more beautiful than you think. It's like
Right.
thinking
Another
it-
great expert line.
We love the experts.
And not to be outdone.
Shout out experts. I'm sorry. We have to shout them out.
Shout out experts and shout out breakdance expert
Yes.
with a great thumbs up. He had a great thumbs up, great expression about him, which I loved when he gave the thumbs down on the left, right, left, turn around, Kishori Karishma, breakdancing, screaming. And then they just go, boom, boom, boom. I'm so happy that couldn't have worked on the first try. Let's go to the roadblock. I want to specifically talk about Amber at the roadblock. And maybe this is a bigger conversation with Amber and Vinny overall. But let's start at the roadblock. Amber's on it. We hear a quote from her that she needs to love herself for her insecurities. Are we worried about Amber's insecurities, her anxiety she mentioned, type A, her and Vinny both type A's? I know we all rank them pretty high, but is what we saw from Amber at the roadblock concerning or not concerning and kind of I'm still solid on them?
My opinion would actually reverse that, Tom. I support who she is, and I see that is her insecurities. And I think as a partner, you need to recognize that those are her insecurities, and you need to be more cognizant and aware of that. And the triggering things for me was more the fact that he never really said like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that. Like that was my fault. He just kind of says, okay, I will work on that, or you need to handle this yourself. And it felt like it was very spinning it back on her, and she was just kind of like having to deal with it instead of being comforted and supported. Even like at the end when they got to the mat, Phil was like, how is it running this race with your partner, Vinny? And Vinny, the first thing he says is frustration, pressure, and then says, well, love, growth, and respect too. Oh, I would actually not want to run it with anyone else. But if the first word that comes out of your mouth is frustration, you guys aren't on the same page, and you're not really, in my mind. I actually think that Vinny's more of the problem than Amber to herself.
I would agree with that. And I don't think that he sees how his harsh approach to her is detrimental to them as a team.
You're
So-
absolutely right.
So, given all that, do we think that their 2 consecutive second places are sustainable, or is this a pressure cooker ready to pop?
I think that they still will do well ultimately because they are so on their game
And it's really smart.
and like capable. They're
Totally.
capable people. The only concern is when you're a perfectionist like they are, perfectionists given an opportunity where they could fail, crumble easily.
So is that what we're seeing from Amber?
But they're not crumbling. Like they got second place.
Yeah.
That's not perfect,
It's not perfect.
right? Not getting the roadblock on the first try, not having the orientation of the map and where you are immediately.
I disagree. I don't see this being an issue in them not making it far in this race. And I actually think that's because there are many other weaker teams. I think that they are going to coast to the top half just because they have the drive to win. And then I think that they're going to actually beat out other teams because they are so passionate, and they're both very passionate. And hopefully when they get to the mat and have time in the hotel or their private plane that takes them to the next city, they could work out these issues and then race for one day without fighting. So I'm seeing that they're going to push through, and I'm hoping that they're going to push through.
I'm with you on that. I see all the benefits. I see the drawbacks, but I think it's just part of their process. I'm betting on that's their process and that's their form of communication. And Amber being emotional, crying from his words or just the way that day went and his feedback and their kind of feedback to each other, I think is just kind of, as I'm reading it, it's just kind of how they roll. They have what it takes. And I think, and they're going to get far. I'm still confident in my contenders ranking for them.
I agree.
All right. Before we get into the power rankings and crossing the finish line, let's do a little prediction time. Right? We're 4 legs in. We're down to 9 teams. That means 6 more teams are going to be eliminated before the final is run. Give me a prediction for the next leg of the race. What do you think?
If I had to go off past theories, it's the consecutive weeks gets you out. And that would mean for me, it's Kishori and Karishma. You know, they've been in the bottom of the pack. We saw a bit of a meltdown. They did just barely make it. And now in my mind, we have the really weak teams out, right? We have the Mary and Chris. We have the Anthony and Bailey. We have the Michelle and Sean's. We have the Maya and Rowan, right? Who now follows that path? In my mind, it's Kishori and Karishma. You know, it's kind of the end of the easy outs, I feel like. And then we start to get into a bit of a harder race. But for me, that's who goes home next.
I agree, especially because we saw in the coming attractions, it looks like it is heavily contingent on ability to navigate in a car, which I think they will really struggle with.
Since we don't know anything about Yvonne and Melissa still after 4 weeks, which
This is wild.
it's just wild at this point. However, they did get a little bit more than 0 seconds of airtime. We did see them do a little bit of the dancing at the Detour. We did hear them say they feel close in their first actual interview in 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But we did not hear them actually called by name at the mat again by Phil. There was no Phil conversation, no mention of their names from him at the mat.
Well, and also the team that arrived just before them, Phil did this whole fake out. And then it was just like, they came and it was just like, oh, you're here.
You're team number 7. So putting that aside, I think the Kishori Karishma, Josh, I think you're on that. Gosh, I hate to say it, but my number 1 team, Sunny and Bizzy, if they can't come to grips with the physical race they need to run, combined with the weaknesses that we talked about earlier, or not the weaknesses, the concerns we talked about earlier of just not knowing each other, I think they're on a decline too. I mean, they pulled this one out of their you-know-what to finish 8th, and it could have easily been last.
So here's a hot take. Hot take is that I think that you're right. Well, I hear you totally. Sunny and Bizzy, they're very close to being out. So in my mind, Kishori and Karishma are the end of the easy outs, and now we're moving into the middle pact. And in my mind, what I've learned, middle pact is going to be Yvonne, Melissa, Derek and Shalisa, Rod and Leticia, Sunny and Bizzy, right? And then now we're looking at the contenders, right? We have the Ricky and Cesar, the Danny and Angie, the Juan and Shane, and the Amber and Vinny's as your top 4. And then from there, I mean, you talk about it all the time. Out of 100 times you race it, I bet each of them win a handful of times. So out of those 4, I can see any of them winning, but I do think it comes down to Juan and Shane, Amber and Vinny, and maybe Ricky and Cesar.
Those are the 3.
That sounds right. Feels right.
That's the final 3. If I'm a betting man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that all being said, let's take a look at our power rankings. So we cross off Michelle and Sean from each of our lists, and folks, Josh is just running it up here.
Man.
He's got his number 13, number 12, and now number 11, Michelle and Sean crossed out. Josh is at a low score of 46 points, putting him way out in first place, with Nicole 14 points behind with 60 and me in last with 63. If Kishori and Karishma, like you just said, go out, you'll have 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9. You'll have literally the bottom 5 crossed out and running a perfect card.
It's wild. It's wild.
But look how low he has Ricky and Cesar ranked.
I know. And look how high I have Sunny and Busy. I think that's where those are my big.
It's still early.
It would be a perfect card. I think honestly, if you swap them, put Ricky and Cesar first, Sunny and Busy, and then right, like look at that, Sunny and Busy next, then Yvonne and Melissa, Derek and Shalisa, Rod and Leticia, Danny and Angie, Juan and Shane, Amber and Vinny. I do feel like I feel very good at my card. I wish I swapped them, but
Yeah. I think there's a real chance to have a special card there. So we'll keep track of that. Who's ready to cross the finish line?
I am.
Nicole?
I just want to mention how much I enjoyed seeing Phil do some double dutch at the end. You go, Phil.
shout out Double Dutch.
How enjoyable it was to watch Michelle and Sean do double dutch
Do their thing.
with Phil. Like
And
that.
take out a cameraman in the process.
Yeah.
Like, I like that it wasn't Phil that messed them up. It was the fact that the rope hit a camera or some piece of equipment, microphone maybe, I don't know. But I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm a big snooper into the episode, and I think that one thing that I found out probably like 35 minutes into the episode is when they cut to Sunny and Busy in the dark in the interviews, and everybody else was in the sun when they were doing their interviews, and it was like, okay, now Sunny and Busy are on their third try trying to get this puzzle. They're so far off. They're gonna freaking lose because they're in pitch darkness and everybody else is in light. I mean, they did fake us out, right? But there's something about, maybe I'm thinking too much, but they gotta edit this smarter. You gotta be smart. Start like filming indoors or something because you're giving away the whole episode, especially when I could see like Derek and Shalisa, the sun is setting gorgeous right behind them. It just, you're like, oh, okay. I even wrote down maybe 7 or 8 times throughout the episode that, oh, okay, so Derek and Shalisa get in before Sunny and Busy. Oh, I guess these people also. Kind of disappointing. But take something out of Drag Race. Drag Race, they make sure that everybody wears the same outfit in every interview so that they can edit it at any point, any time in the season from that recording.
I'll cross the finish line in saying this. With the very, very, very limited access we had to get to know these people and these teams before the race, I felt like I was trying to put together rankings that were people I wanted to root for, people that I was rooting for, things that I saw in people that I really liked. And like, I really like Michelle and Sean. I think they're awesome people. I love what they do. And I think that going back to Nicole's crossing the finish line, once they got that rope out and they were doing their thing with Phil, like they weren't just eliminated from the Amazing Race. Right. And I think that really is mission accomplished to their goal, which was to have a great experience and prove to their kids that they can do something incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with Sunny and Busy. I put them number 1. I'm still rooting for them. I still am rooting for them on the race, in life, as people.
Yeah.
Their message, what they stand for. Definitely would have had Ricky and Cesar if I could redo them right now at number 1. I'm disappointed in misreading them. I think we had all the tea leaves and we all missed it on them, which kind of makes me feel a little bit better. On that note, we say thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Josh. Thank you to our supporters out there. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe at Tribal Council Blog on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Check us out. Leave a comment. What are your thoughts on this episode? We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next week, a more exciting episode, and we will cover it right here on the ReRACEables Podcast. We'll see you next week.